Hello and welcome to today's webinar on boosting checkout and reducing cart abandonment. My name is Mike Fradkin and I'll be your host today. Before we get started, I want to mention that this webinar is being recorded and will be available on our website as well as our YouTube channel at a later time. In addition, if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to enter those into your question panel as we'll be answering questions at the end of the session. With me today is Paul Terry. Paul is one of our longest tenured optimization consultants. We're also joined by Kurt Myers, one of our top optimization solution engineers. This webinar is part of a weekly series we've been holding. I think we're in week 4 or 5 here, where each week we focus on a specific optimization and personalization topic, and we're sharing lessons we've learned with our customers that we think are valuable to pass on. Not ignoring the unique time in which we're living and working, however, we're also spending a few minutes each week outside of the theme to talk about the current common challenges and trends we're seeing across our customer base as related to COVID. So today, in terms of agenda, we'll lead with that. Then we'll move into this week's topic of boosting checkout and reducing cart abandonment. And we'll answer any questions you have in either area at the end of the session. With that, I'm going to hand things off to our optimization consultant, Paul Terry. Paul?
Thanks, Mike. So this week, it's the return of A/B testing. We are seeing a lot of our clients return to a lot more A/B testing that had kind of been lightened up during the initial phase of the crisis. We do see still a lot of personalization emphasis on the conditions of the retail, if it's a brick and mortar companion there, what is open, what are the plans. Also, curbside pickup is extremely important still, and will be for the foreseeable future. Making sure that on the website that it's clearly communicated any change in business, especially as it pertains to the brick and mortar stores. Also, extending free return periods is still very important. Making sure that customers are comfortable making purchases during this time, and where time and logistics are of critical concern, making sure that those communications happen. But other than that, we are seeing a real return to A/B testing, with an eye that some tests, if your traffic or your product mix is being kind of uniquely presented or uniquely of interest, that you may want to redo some A/B tests in the future, depending on those elements. But other than that, we are seeing a return, so that's good. So that's mostly, I guess, the things that kind of called our attention this week, and we'll see how things go. Mike? Okay, so we want to get into this week's topic is boosting checkout and reducing cart abandonment. And before we kind of go through these things, want to basically say here that there's a distinct difference between cart and checkout, and there's very important things you should pay attention to with these two areas. I'm going to talk about them in the order that customers see them, optimizing the cart and then optimizing the checkout. We generally recommend that you optimize checkout first before you get too far into your cart. And the reason is because they're very different and they have very different problems. And we'll see that as we go through here. Let's go on to the next slide here, and we'll start with the cart. So the cart is where a lot of shoppers will use the cart to collect their things that they're interested in purchasing, and they may be purchasing and they may just be shopping, right? And so again, the purpose of the cart is to have the basket of things that you want to purchase or compare. It's your working session. You may add things and delete things. And you may just use it as a basic tool in your shopping experience. So it's a good time to promote delivery cutoffs, for example. Here, some of the things that And along with that, companion products and free shipping thresholds, right? So it's a basket of things you're going to purchase. And for example, you may have only a certain time to get a certain delivery window. That should be communicated here. If you have free shipping thresholds, that if you have to spend so much, it's a great time to have companion products promotion and communicate those free shipping thresholds and any other missed offers. We should be watching what our users are considering purchasing to make sure that they have entered their coupons, entered their codes. This is the place to do that. In the cart, certainly not in checkout, right? Make sure that all the buying information and options are there, the quantity of each item, any gift options are available and communicated there. The in-stock notifications or any special concerns there should be notified there. Store pickup options, expedited shipping things, all these things that concern with not the products themselves, but the purchasing of the products, the deals, the considerations for all of those things that we do as retailers beyond the product itself should be. That's kind of our place, right? That's where we have all of the assembled products together. That's where we want to optimize for those things. So we want to present those things. Promotion of in-store credit card is another big one here. It's kind of a companion product, but it's a great place to do it because you can say, you probably have some kind of a credit card deal. You can show that in the cart because you know what the size of it is. And then, as users consider their options, they may want to add more to cart or different products to cart to take maximum advantage of all the things that you're going to offer. Begin checkout button, make sure it's above the fold. Don't put that ever below the fold for 99% of your users on any given platform, right? So that's really important. It's a good time right there next to the begin checkout to underscore your value proposition. We're getting closer and closer here. It's right before checkout. And so we want to make sure we communicate. It's our last chance to really make that sale, right? Why should they purchase here? Return options, who we are as a retailer, and why we should earn their trust. And again, trust and security logos. This is where you put them right next to that begin checkout button. It's a backstop, right? Right as they're considering making that next choice, right within eyesight. The very next thing ought to be instilling trust and making sure that they know that this is a secure place to shop. It's the best place to shop. Always keep in mind they could be using this cart and they could have another retailer's cart up in another window and they're comparing, where are they going to buy these items given the price, the availability, the shipping cost, the shipping time, all these things. You're being compared. This is where you're being compared, not where necessarily the products are being compared, but where you as a retailer are being compared, right? Okay, so let's go to the next slide, and we're going to talk in this next part about checkout. Very different from cart. Okay, it's very different. And if you haven't already optimized your checkout, this is where you should begin because a lot of low-hanging fruit here. And it's also where you're going to lose. It's where you're going to lose repeat customers. You're not only going to lose customer purchase, you're going to lose their next purchase and their next purchase, and you might, lose a loyal customer that you could have served for many years, right? So checkout it's often overlooked by retailers that are new to e-commerce because it's a new thing. We all know about showing products and getting deals and categories and pretty intuitive about we're going to search for a product and we're going to have a hierarchy of categories. We all know about the end caps that we use in traditional retail. And so we know about hero images, we know about imaging, we know about calls to action and promotional terms. These are all standard things, but an online checkout process is really a thing in and of itself. And so if you don't have expertise in this area in your company already, you probably are missing out. You're probably not doing it correctly. It's all about three things. Checkout is about three things: simplicity, security, and confidence. That's it, right? We're not going to be promoting other products here. We're not going to be trying to get you to buy more or buy different things or consider other options. Not the time for that. We're done. The only thing you want to do here is take their money and be done. And as fast as you can get that and easy as you can get that done, the better. Measure every single step that users take in checkout. Every click, every timing, every sequence, every keystroke, measure it all. Understand where the pain points are. Understand where the abandonment happens, right? Have real users test it behind glass. Watch what they're doing, right? Behind glass, behind virtual glass. Have real user testing here. See what they're doing. Understand that major online retailers have massively tested checkouts. The most tested, A/B tested or user tested software in the entire internet is major online retailers' checkout systems. So if you don't really know where to begin, look at some of your largest competitors and what they're doing online as far as checkout goes. Because I guarantee you, the largest ones, because they're our clients and we also know about them through other channels, they test their checkout constantly. All right, so look and see what they're doing, and do, if you don't know where to start, do what they're doing as much as you can. Okay, next slide. Let's get into some of the details here. Again, want to make it simple. We want to make it, it's all about making it simple. There's no reason checkout should be more than one page. Now, you're going to have some pop-up things. You're going to have to maybe go to another section that should be a pop-up or an extend out, but stay on that page. One page for checkout. You're going to have all of your processes there, right? Your payment, your shipping, your confirmation, the short list of products. That's it, one page. You don't want to take the user off anywhere else. Use SiteSpec's origin experiments to consolidate your checkout process into a single process. This is the perfect one of the perfect places to use an origin experiment. Because it's critical. Timing is critical. Things like flicker are really, really bad. You don't want anybody to know that you're testing a major flow here. You got to be really careful. So an origin experiment is really the best method for testing multiple step checkout process. And that's just for the combining it down into one page. That's where you use the origin. All the rest things you can use all kinds of testing methods. So it's all about simplicity, removing distractions, removing off-ramps. We're not promoting other products. Like I said before, this is not the place to do that, or offers or anything that doesn't absolutely have to be done here. Login issues. I can't tell you the number of times we've helped with login issues. We're going to highlight one, I think, later in this webinar in a few minutes. But if the user forgot their ID or password, don't take them to their account area. Don't have them go, well, go to their account area and change their password and everything. Handle it all right there in checkout. Right? It needs to be in line, right there. Fix it. Get their account, get their password, and all that right there. Make sure you provide a guest checkout. Really critical. Some of the reasons that people abandon checkout are because they have to create an account. They should not have to create an account. If you can walk into the store off the street, pay your money and buy something and leave. And If you don't have a guest checkout with an optional account creation, make sure that you let them know you'll have the chance to if you want to create an account later, but don't make them create even a guest account, right? Just, do what you need to do to make that sale and make it really simple. We should just be no surprises in checkout. The reason that we say you should optimize this first is because it's cut and dry. It really has nothing to do with the product mix you sell or the clientele that you serve. It's not your special branded operation. It is a simple operation. Give me your money, I'll give you the products, we're done. And we instill confidence, simplicity, and security. So it's pretty cut and dry. And if you haven't optimized it, if you don't know if you're optimized, you're not optimized. Okay, so all right, next slide. Continuing on here, alternate payment methods, really important, especially for a newer site. If you are trying to establish a brand, or you have a less established brand, it's really important to have options for users to not have to type in their credit card number, especially on mobile. You should always have an option, have a partner there that allows you to make those sales, whether it's PayPal or what have you. An address book. I was on a major retailer the other day in a personal thing, and I could not figure out how to have a distinct billing and shipping address. And that was a deal killer because I wanted to buy a gift for somebody. I didn't need it gift wrapped, but I needed to have my billing address and shipping address separate. So you can have an address book for that. You can also make it clear for guest checkout. Don't limit people checking out on guest checkout. But again, it's all about simplicity, and it's all about keeping the options that are going to be needed right there front and center. Another thing that we've seen here is allowing the cell phone numbers to be called out so that you can have delivery tracking and communications through your cell phone. Something to consider if you haven't done. That's more of an operational thing than just a website thing, but we've seen a lot of success there. Again, the place the order button above the fold, really important. Don't make people look for that. And another great place to underscore your value proposition and security logos, trust logos. Test those though. If you have a company that provides that type of service, make sure that you test it, not taking their test for granted. Some of them operate better than others, and different websites have different success. So make sure you do your own testing on security and trust logos, but they can be important. Again, it's all about trust. It's all about security, and it's right there in the eyesight on the place order button. That's the final one. Always keep in mind that just because they made it to that final place the order button, they haven't decided to buy there, and that's the most critical part, to make sure that your return option have a link there for return options. That doesn't take them somewhere else, but pops up a very concise description of your return policy. Make sure that your value prop and your trust are clearly delineated right there and above the fold, obviously. Let's go one more slide here. I want to talk about form optimization. I talk about one-page checkout, and I'm sure some people are going, "What? We can't do that." Well, yes, you can. And some of the keys here are really intelligent use of the technology, that SPA type technology, single page application technology, that allows you to interact with the page dynamically. So in addition to removing optional fields, don't even present a complex wish list of information you'd love to have from this user. Give me your birth date so we can give you a notification on your birthday or whatever. Don't do that. Remove optional fields. Obviously test all of these things, but you'll find that if you present users with a complicated field, even though it says optional, 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 they might not see the optional. They may just go, whoa, I'm out of here. So keep it very, very simple. Wait till you make the sale to ask for more information. Support text. If you need to have a little additional text to explain a field or give the options for a field, make sure that's right there, clearly marked, and doesn't take them off to another part of the site. Pop it up, talk to them about the return options and the options for a certain field there. Now this next one is huge, and that is error messages in line versus clicking to go to the next step. If they type in an email address that's not a valid email address, as soon as they click off that field, you'll be able to know that. You'll be able to handle it right there. Don't wait till they say submit the order to then come back to them and go, oh, by the way, this email address isn't a valid email address, or a valid credit card number, right? And again, the next one, supplying helpful formatting with credit cards and phones and email addresses and things like that. Help them out there, right? The credit cards, separate them out into groups automatically. If they type an invalid character, just ignore it. Format as they go. And as soon as you can identify a bad piece of information because of the format or what have you, do it. So anyway, again, it's all about simplicity. Do it all in one place. You want to be kind, but concise, right? This is your last chance, and it is really the lowest hanging fruit. Again, if you haven't optimized your checkout, that's where to begin, because you're probably missing out on sales. Okay, I think we're pretty much done there. I will come back to some questions on this. I know it's a lot of material, and I'm sure there could be some other questions. I think we want to just take a look at a couple of tests that we've done here with clients. This is a photo and video retailer. It was an example of where it was a credit card offer that the incentive to use the store credit card was equal to the tax. And this is just one example. There are many, many, many examples. But it was really interesting what happened. This kind of in the cart is where we did this. Let's look at the results. We ran it for almost a month, I believe. And with this credit card offer, in the cart, it's the right place to do it, not in checkout, but an 82% lift in credit card informational links, over a double in credit card applications. So that was all good. It was a successful launch of their credit card opportunity there. But what was really interesting here is we saw a 3% lift in average order value, but more than that, we saw a 3% lift in the average purchase price of an item, which think about that. You've arrived in the cart, and you've said, by the way, Mr. Customer, you've got more money to spend. Right? And so it was a smashing success. Just during the test, it was $700,000 in less than a month, right? And not to mention every month that follows. So anyway, it's a really good example of where to do it in the cart and the type of companion offering that you can do successfully there. Let's look at another one. This is back to, we were talking about passwords. This was just amazing. So again, this is where I get information like don't send them to the account page to get their ID or their password fixed. This one just shows you here. We improved the forget password process rather than have them go off to some other place and have the have the error message appear somewhere else on the page. We simply improved that process and had them correct their password right there and actually made the error message hot. Click here and let's fix the situation. And let's look what we did. It took 90 days. We ran it because obviously it's not a very common thing, but a 5% lift in checkouts. That's huge. That's absolutely huge. If you can bump your checkout by 5%, for this particular large retailer, it was worth $10 million in annual volume, merchandise volume, $10 million, just correcting the password, getting that done at the right place at the right time, and not sending people off somewhere else. So again, little things here add up. Really, really valuable in the checkout, cart and checkout process. Highly recommend you take a good look at this. And again, if you don't think you're optimized, you're not. If you don't know your abandonment, you're not optimized. If you don't know the number of times users have to retype a credit card number, if you don't know that number off the top of your head or have it handy really close, you're not optimized. Right? If you don't know what your guest percentage checkout is, you're not optimized. If you don't know the major elements of every one of these steps or have it really handy, then you're not optimized. And if you're not optimized, this is where you should optimize first, in your checkout and then your cart, in that order. Okay, that's really what I have to say about it. I'd love to hear any questions that we have. Mike?
Great. Thanks so much, Paul. That a lot of great stuff to consider there. A reminder, because I know a few folks joined late, we're taking questions if you want to enter them into your question panel, and that we'll certainly can answer questions both on the theme as well as some of the This Week in Optimization stuff that Paul handled at the front of the webinar. I do have a couple questions here, Paul, so let me take a look here. One of the questions we have here says, how do the concepts you talked about today apply to a company that is outside of retail?
Good question. So I'm just going to go back to the same theme that we've had, outside retail. So what is cart and checkout in a lead gen, right? And it's called you're making a deal. Whatever you're doing online with folks, if it's a lead gen site, it's all about confidence and closing the deal fast with confidence and simplicity, right? If you have that final step that you're going to take, you've presented the information, you've made the best offer. Generally with lead gen, it's one of two areas. You're either closing the deal or you're starting the conversation. Right. And so that final one is when you're ready for the final step, whether it's, present the lead, send my batch of leads, or send me more information or what have you. It's all about simplicity and confidence. So that's where you want to back up with your value proposition and, with any associations that you have that tell that user that you are to be trusted and that they can proceed with confidence.
Thanks. Another question here. The question reads, I assume that things that make users abandon or convert change over time. For example, maybe years ago, the fact that you didn't have certain payment or shipping options or some of the security endorsements you mentioned earlier wasn't as big a deal, but now the lack of those things might be the reason a user gets spooked or frustrated and leaves the site. How do you keep on top of those trends?
So we keep on top of it by looking at our clients and the largest clients and non-clients. And for you, you should always keep an eye on what your competitors are doing, but always keep in mind what the market leaders are in. And if you're in e-commerce, you can boil it down to less than 5, right? So look and make sure that you know what they're doing, what they're accommodating. And always keep an eye on different devices as well, because those are changing rapidly too. So I guess what I'll say is the most highest A/B tested and user tested software in the entire internet is the cart and checkout process of major e-tailers. So keep an eye on what they're doing.
Great, thanks. I think we got time for one more question. Let me just look at the board here. And this one's actually sort of timely and topical. Since the pandemic started here in the US, cart abandonment results have been all over the map for us. In some cases, we suspect shoppers are adding the same item to numerous carts with an intention of abandoning all but one. In the other cases, we're seeing higher conversions because there was, at least initially, a panic to just get certain things without doing much comparison shopping. And the question ends, how do you begin to assess your effectiveness in boosting checkout when things are in flux like they are?
And I would say that it all comes down to the separation of cart and checkout, right? Cart is going to be in flux depending on market conditions. Cart is going to be in flux depending on competitive conditions. And so we've talked about optimizing cart. Your cart abandonment is going to be a lot larger than your checkout abandonment. And if it's not, you've got more problems. But your checkout, again, is a transaction. It's very simple. It has nothing to do with your brand. It has nothing to do with market conditions. It has nothing to do with competitive analysis. It has nothing to do with any of that. It is, give me your money, I'll give you the products. And that's it. So you have to think about them in two completely different scenarios and expect your cart to do flux. And again, look at them separately, optimize them separately. And I guess that's really how I would approach varying conditions in those two. Checkout will not vary. If it's not optimized, you've got work to do, period.
Great. So actually, I know we're a minute or two over, but I just got a late question here and I want to see if we could get it answered. Question came in, I work for a financial services company and looking to improve engagement and KPIs for logged in users, secure pages. How would you apply this strategy to my business?
Okay, so financial services company looking to improve engagement and KPIs for logged in users. So, you know, if you have a logged in user, you know about that user. You know what products they've purchased, what products they've looked at. You know how often they come back to your site. And so in the cart, and again, financial services, engagement and KPI, these practices, I'm going to try to relate to closing the deal here. There's all kinds of things you can do with personalization if you know about the user. But in the final stages, you know a lot about this user. So you should be able to know the things, the services that you offer, the products that you provide, that they might be most interested in. And the cart is the place to do that, where they're gathering what they're interested in. Personalization can be known all throughout your site, and in terms of the products and the offers that you market to people that you know about, right? And again, trying to take this down to the final deal when you're actually making the transaction. It really shouldn't apply there because that's a cut and dry thing. Just get the transaction completed, making sure that they understand that you are a trusted source, you are a trusted place that they can do business, and that it's secure and it's efficient. I hope that answers it.
Great. Thanks, Paul. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining and sticking with us these few extra minutes today. If you have additional questions or you didn't have your question answered or you want any additional information on today's topic or about SiteSpec, please feel free to email us at info@sitespec.com. That's info@sitespec.com. We hope you'll join us next week for our topic, increasing ads to cart. Until then, we wish you and your family continued safety and good health. Have a great day.